Welcome to the Serpent Temple podcast. This week, it's a weekly review. We're going to be looking at 3 albums. The first one is a 70s classic by Wishbone Ash entitled August, released in 1972. The second is the classic Sludge album by Acid Bath called When the Kite String Pops, released in 1994. And the third is a recent release by the band Wormwitch entitled Wolf Hex, released in 2021. So, Floyd, I would love to know what you thought of Wishbone Ash.
No, they were great. It's probably one of the cleanest albums I've ever listened to.
Yeah.
Still amazes me how the production can be so good on such an album that's almost 50 years old. It was I've got some facts here, because it was engineered by Martin Birch, who went on to work with Maiden and Thin Lizzy, which I think is kind of fitting considering that apparently, because I wasn't familiar with this band, but apparently they were one of the pioneers of the whole twin lead
guitars.
And all the harmonies. So it only makes sense that the engineer went on to work with Thin Lizzy and Iron Maiden, who are 2 other bands who are kind of synonymous with that kind of guitar playing. But that was just really fucking, like, you could tell that each musician is like at the fucking experts at their craft.
Yeah, I've heard that this album is described as Wishbone Ash kind of doing the best version. It's like the best captured version of their sound the way they wanted it to be heard. So I think this is like one of the most respected, the most celebrated Wishbone Ash albums of the many they've released. And the twin lead guitars, like, I didn't really know about. I always loved this album, but I didn't know about that being such a pioneering album for that.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I mean, Nico McBrain from Maiden himself apparently has said, like, if you listen to early Maiden, that was 100% the sound they were going for, was like the Wishbone Ash sound of this album. I think maybe Carcass as well. I feel like they really do the twin lead harmonies thing.
Oh yeah,
so
especially
well.
on like Heartwork.
Yeah, I love that about their sound. And as usual, Michael Ackerfeld from Opeth.
This isn't it. Gets everywhere, doesn't he? Him and his trilby hat. Not a trilby, whatever hat he wears. Michael Ackerfeld on the trilby would be quite amusing, though.
This is, as Shem described it, a Michael Ackerfeld influences podcast. We're always accidentally finding his influences. It's honestly completely unintentional.
Yeah, it's who have we got on this album? So we've got Martin Turner on bass and vocals. So some of the bass work on this album is absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And even the vocals are pretty well harmonized as well.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
King Will Come, really cool 3-part harmony there.
Yeah.
I think it might actually be a diminished fifth on the harmony. I'm not sure. I could be talking absolute bollocks, but this is a song I was talking about to you earlier, because this song, King Will Come, it sounds exactly like a Ghost song. The riff is like a Ghost riff, but then the production on the vocals is identical to how it would be on a Ghost song, especially that earlier material, like Opus Eponymous. And yeah, like, I'm pretty sure it's a first, third, and maybe a diminished fifth, so you get the tritone evil sound in. Like, for a 1970s song, it sounds legit evil. It sounds really, really cool.
I wonder if Ghosts are influenced at all by Wishbone Ash. You'd probably...
I think they are. Judging, I dare anyone who disagrees with me, go listen to this song and give me a good reason why Ghost wouldn't have been. Because if I was in Ghost, if I was Tobias, I would literally just have shown the engineer that song and then, like, do that with the vocals, and it would sound identical.
But the thing is, I actually think the vocals... I am not super familiar with Ghost, but I think the vocals here sound much better than any vocals I've ever heard on a Ghost song.
Shots fired.
No, I mean, I think Tobias Forge. Oh, sorry, Papa Emeritus, whoever the fuck he goes by. I don't think he's going to be come across this podcast, but that is like the main detraction of their music. I actually think the vocals in Ghost are quite weak.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think the harmonies, Ghost were inspired by the harmonics on that song. I can see what you're saying. I do think the vocals on Wishbone Ash are gorgeous. Like, his really beautiful use of distortion. There's actually loads of vocal variation between the songs. So, like, there's very considered, I think, placement of the songs at the beginning of the album. It's very, like, soft and happy and simple, and then it builds up more and more. It becomes more kind of military, where you get the kind of more medieval, like, kings and swords and things coming in, I think.
Yeah, it's it seems like the second half of the album is where, like, kind of a lot of the medieval influences kind of creep in.
Yeah.
So it's the last track, Throw Down the Sword.
Yeah, that's it.
Starts with, like, a super long, like, fucking drum roll that I think lasts about like a minute, but it's got kind of that marching medieval kind of feel to it. And there's some like early like there's a lot of like kind of folky guitar work on here, which I think is like an early kind of like proto version of some of the more kind of folkier side of metal that you've heard, whether it be I don't know, actually I'm not even that familiar with folk metal. I suppose Fintro, big folk metal band, right?
I guess I don't really listen to folk metal either, to be honest. Yeah,
I was going to name drop. I keep name dropping Agalok every week.
Can you stop?
Yeah, but Corpiclani, I suppose.
Corpiclani.
No, fucking them in there. What's that song they had again? Is it Vodka?
Yeah, like what is it? It's just literally to say vodka. Yeah. I'm just
showing my fucking lack of education in regards to folk metal now. But tell you a good folk metal band I do like, Thyrfing. Thyrfing. It's more like I detest the term Viking metal, but it's kind of a bit like a Viking sort of folk metal project.
That's cool.
Because I detest the term because I don't think Viking metal exists.
I mean, Viking is like it's not even an ethnic term.
No.
Right? They were just fucking pirates before, like, not in the Caribbean, basically.
Yeah, and pirate metal is shit as well, for that matter.
Oh yeah, pirate metal officially done. Goodbye, pirate
dead
metal.
Now, yeah.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah.
We won't be covering that anytime soon. A Leaf and Stream, though, I really like how that's between The King Will Come and Warrior, because it's such a dreamy track.
Yeah.
It's so gorgeous. There's something, it reminds me of Carmen at times. Like there's some real like flamenco Carmen vibes as well. I wonder who influenced who, or if there even is influence, but I did feel that kind of stompy.
That was a really good track, and I think you're absolutely right. Like the placement of the track is like perfect, because it's largely, I mean, it pretty much is a fully acoustic number, that one, isn't it? Leaf and Stream.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
So it's just so, everything is just so masterfully kind of composed and arranged, and it's like when I hear music like this, it just makes me think of like you could tell that they would be like the perfect session musicians.
Yeah,
they're just so good at their instruments that they're the sort of people that would get hired to work with like these top names and could just do fucking anything and would just fit any mold.
A lot of them have. So a few of them, one guy, I think he worked with John Lennon, I forget who. But then also, so there was like a thing, there's the bassist Martin Turner. He did the majority of the lyrics and vocals and things like that. Basically in 1980, their label were like, you need to become more commercial. Yeah. This album, I think, got to number 3 in the UK charts. But
damn, that's good.
Yeah, they had some like really big hits and stuff. But then by 1980, the label were like, okay, we want you to get a front man. So the rest of the band turned around to Martin and were like, yeah, we want to get a front man in. And Martin was like, I don't like that. So he left the band. He basically felt like he was forced out. So they tried to find a front man, didn't find a front man, got another guy in. But they had a series of vocalists who, I think one went on to form Uriah Heep.
Yeah.
With a bunch of other people from this band as well, potentially. Sorry if I'm wrong. I was late on Wikipedia last night. But then there were a lot of other bands that people went on to. Thin Lizzy, I think there's a connection to Thin Lizzy as well. This is such a good fact I'm coming in with here. But is it Jethro Tull?
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned Jethro Tull, because I didn't look up any other sort of projects and the musicians have been in, but like at times I definitely got reminded of Jethro Tull, like some like Aqualung-esque style segments.
Yeah, there's some really gorgeous segments. There was one segment which really reminded me of how Akafel constructs his vocals. It's Sometime Wild. There's like more towards the end, like the guitars are like curling around the vocals. It's like smoke and oil. It's gorgeous, and it's really dreamy, and the guitar work is like very, very complex but also very joyful.
Yeah,
so it reminds me a lot of like that modern prog opeth. Like I can totally see Akafel jamming to this shit.
And it's kind of like they're almost jamming at a lot of points as well. I feel like it's I feel like a lot of the songs have this structure where they've got like their like the main body of the song, then there's like these extended parts, which I think is probably quite typical of 70s music, which is just like really like fucking just well done, like soloing and sort of bass work, but like it's done in a way that it's not too disjointed or loose. Like it's still quite coherent and together.
Yeah, I was thinking the other day, like there's so much complex bass in prog, and it's really interesting how, I could be talking shit here, but like complex bass wasn't really valued as much in a lot of early metal.
Yeah.
I think it's still kind of the case. I think guitar was like the hero instrument, so people were like, oh, let's make the guitars really good.
Yeah.
And the bass is like, it's really in like tech death and some death metal, good bass is really important.
Yeah.
But I think with some black metal, maybe some other genres, you're not like, oh, look at that fucking bassist. Yeah.
Somewhere at home, Jason Newsted is fucking applauding. He's being like, yeah, fucking, that's what I've been saying. But no, yeah. So which album was it again that they completely eradicated the bass? Was it And Justice for All? Yeah. But no, you're right, especially about the tech death point. Like, you can definitely tell. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those bassists were influenced by some of this earlier kind of like 70s music, because like even a band like Beyond Creation, Canadian tech death band, and like you're absolutely right. Like there's at times when the bass is as vocal as the guitar work, and I think it is more of a modern thing, because there is a period where you couldn't name any fucking. Most people wouldn't be able to name many bassists of any of the big bands because they were seen as the forgotten members.
It's true. It's really sad, and I wonder, like, I wonder if part of it has to do with like where the music's performed. Because if you look at pop and like disco and anything that's performed in a club, bass is like way more important than guitar.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, hip hop, yeah. I mean, like it's all about the bass lines apparently. Yeah. So I wasn't meaning to sing that Meghan Trainor song there. All about that bass.
That bass. No. Yeah, no, like, and just normal pop, I feel like the bass lines are really fucking good. You get like some really good complex bass work, really interesting bass tones. I feel like we kind of fucked up there. Yeah. Like metal, sorry guys, don't mean to be a negative Nancy, but I think we need to catch up.
Yeah, I think it's catching up now. I think there's
so.
It's I'll tell you who else is a really good bassist, and it's not often that I drop some new metal. Facts and knowledge on this thing, but Mudvayne's bassist is actually really good.
Really?
Yeah,
Sick.
Forget his bloody name.
Rhino.
Is he called Rhino?
Mudvayne's name.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder how he feels about Wino.
I want to. Damn, it's at the tip of my tongue. I'm just going to waste time trying to remember it. Ryan. It's Ryan something. Well, it makes sense why his name's Rhino, because it's similar to Ryan. Ryan Olivier? Olivier? Well, Ryan Oliver?
So Rhino makes it.
Ryan Martini.
Martini. Okay, cool.
I got the first name right. Yeah. But yeah, like he was, it's kind of like he was kind of doing the same thing Fieldy from Korn was doing. Yeah. But they were kind of like slap bass and like different like sort of techniques and stuff. So just kind of taking things from other genres which do place more prominence on bass and infusing it into sort of the heavy music realm.
I think that's why Skindred are really good live. Honestly, I think so, because they use loads of sub bass and they use some seriously cool bass shit. Like, yeah. It was
it's like what I was saying last week when they done that fucking dubstep like trap cover of that Slipknot song and people just losing their shit. But I tell you who else has good bass lines is The Streets, the Mike Skinner project.
Oh, they're the one that they do She's Fit and She Knows It.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a
I don't like that song, but some of their songs have got some pretty like fat bass lines.
That's interesting. There are some really good fat bass lines from like 2000s, like pop and like stuff like that. I don't really know much about what the genres are called.
Nah. Yeah. Same. But Wishbone Ash.
Wishbone Ash. Yeah. Fantastic band. Really, really seminal. I think a lot of modern metal is actually owes a lot to this album.
Yeah, I think even just purely based on the direct influence on Iron Maiden, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like Iron Maiden is seen as one of those sort of heritage bands, along with Sabbath and Priest. So I think just the fact that was it you say it was Nico that mentioned they were an influence?
I think it was Nico. I don't know. I don't really care for Iron Maiden very much, but I vaguely remember reading it was. I
thought I remember reading it was Steve Harris, but
maybe it was Steve Harris.
Yeah.
Who wrote? Yeah, I know he's the drummer. I actually know that, which is surprising. Yeah, he has a face that looks like a brain. It's interesting. But you think it does actually kind of have... Maybe I should.
It's kind of got that Iggy Pop kind of Gordon Ramsay. It's Sean Locke, who recently just died, the comedian. I love Sean Locke. Yeah. He said that he'd done a great diss on Gordon Ramsay once. He said his face looks like crackling. And that if he closed his eyes, then it would look like a walnut wearing a chef's hat. I was just like...
It's true, it's the right colour as well.
Yeah,
rich people legit are that colour.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a bit weird they have the same texture and colour as a walnut? It's like a smooth walnut. It's so weird. You want to like reach out and touch them and like, is that a beauty filter you're walking around with? Like, what is going on there?
Oh, God.
Oh, to be rich and walnut texture.
Walnut-esque.
Walnut-esque, yes. Yeah.
But no, it's this is another gem from the 70s, and I think just it's one of those instances where you could tell that everybody involved is just adding an integral component to the music. Like you've got Andy Powell, Ted Turner on guitars, Steve Upton. The drums are amazing. Like there's some absolutely fantastic like variation with the drums, some great cymbals, some great crash work. There's one track, it's Warrior, so it's got a lot of like crash and cymbals, just really like furious drum work, and he knows to dial it back when he needs to dial it back. You know, it's always a sign of a good drummer when they don't overplay. And definitely there's no overplaying from anyone on this album. Like none of it comes across as wanky, which is something that can be quite typical, I feel like, of music.
I feel like that prog as well, it has a bad reputation for that kind of thing. Yeah.
But no, I don't think there's any wasted kind of motion or notes here. I think there's no note out of place or out of time. Everything just seems
gorgeous,
needed. Everything just seems so perfectly placed.
Yeah, I was reading that this was released on vinyl in '72, but it didn't have another physical release until 2002, when it was released on CD.
God damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the one I listened to on Spotify was some extended edition
version
that had like some live tracks. So I didn't bother to listen to them because I listened to the actual, just the album tracks. But no, it was. I think it might have been a remastered edition as well.
Yes, so that's the version that was released in 2002 on CD. So it's remastered, and they fused it with an EP that they released, I think, a similar year, where it was live in Memphis.
Yeah.
So you've got those, I think, 3 tracks from Memphis at the end. His voice is kind of blown out on those tracks, and there's a bit of feedback as well. But it is actually still really good.
Yeah. That's always the problem I find with live albums, to be honest, was I feel like it's, I like live music and watching it, but if I don't necessarily want to listen to a live album, like I'll just listen to how it was intended to sound on record. And don't get me wrong, there's some good live albums, but it's I just realized I'm saying this realizing you guys released a lot.
It's not the same. It was all
it's not the same, because that's exactly.
Yeah.
So like what you done was completely cool, and I think I really enjoyed it. But when it's just like when you're listening to just like a standard set list of live tracks, it's that doesn't appeal to me. If it was a live video, then that's different. I could get the enjoyment out of that. But in CD format, I don't really think people tend to do it as much.
It's not
anymore.
as common. I think it was more common back in the day, where I think labels were like, okay, we have to have a release. We got to do something. Here's an easy thing we can do.
Yeah.
I do find it interesting. Personally, I'm not usually interested in live albums, but I did find it interesting to listen to this and be like, how did they do it live?
Yeah.
And like, how does his voice sound? How are they doing all the instruments? Sometimes I will be like, I wonder how they do sound live, because like a band like Opeth always sound identical live.
Yeah.
There's no fucking point. I used to have Opeth bootlegs, which I really enjoyed, because Ackerfeld would have like really funny bits that he'd do between songs.
Oh, his stage band is quite good.
It's really funny. So I do like hearing stage band, but now I fucking hate stage banter. I'm like, why are you talking to me? Play your fucking music. Like, it really depends who it is, I guess.
But, it's who is it that's got the most? I fucking probably mentioned this before on the podcast, but George fucking Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse says the same shit all the time. Like he's always come out with the same fucking. It's probably been a good 20 years. He hasn't changed a single aspect of his. Like he'll be like, oh, your girlfriend's not here to see you. She's here to see me. And just like, this one goes out to all the women. I come blood. And yeah, that's Cannibal Corpse for you. They're a product of their time.
They're still in their time, it seems.
Yeah. It's crazy because most of them are vegetarians now. I think, the drummer is anyway. Paul, I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce his surname. But it's... but yeah, they're a strange band, especially because he's super into like Warcraft as well, isn't he? So he's like, he's like a straight up nerd, and he loves like Disney and Lego and shit.
That's so cute.
There's that video of him going into Walmart and buying loads of Disney for his kids and stuff.
Aww.
So it's so odd that the members are quite a wholesome group, apart from the matey boy that was imprisoned.
I keep guns in my house for murder. That guy.
Yeah. It was Pat O'Brien. That was it. Yeah. It's funny though, because that's like they actually photoshopped some fake song titles in there.
They did. They were really funny. Yeah.
But it was funny though. So
I want to believe they're real, just because it's just amusing that guy did that stuff. As long as no one died or got hurt, I guess.
But no, so it's I think I'm gonna go and explore some more Wishbone Ash, because I was really impressed with this album.
I really like the album that came out before this one. I think it was
Is that a good one?
71. I think it's called Pilgrim or Pilgrimage. I think it's Pilgrim. I'm just getting confused with Ohm.
Cool.
It's really good. It's a bit more upbeat, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I definitely want to check them out because I think I remember mentioning when you first mentioned them about doing this album or reviewing it, and because I'm pretty sure my dad was into Wishbone Ash, and I feel like King Will Come was quite a familiar sounding track. Like there was aspects of the album where I was pretty sure I'd heard, or there was some part of my brain that recognized it, But no, it's great, and it's one of the, I think, in my opinion, one of the more complete sounding like rock albums I've ever heard. Like it's such a complete and just fucking almost flawless album. I could see why it was so lauded, and I think I remember reading it one. I can't remember which publication it was, but it was voted album of the year by some esteemed publication at the time.
I think it was Rolling Stone.
I don't think it was Rolling Stone. It might have been
Louder something. But I know what you mean. Yeah, they did get lauded. Yeah.
But and I can totally understand why. I mean, it's just really fucking just pristine and really clean and really enjoyable music. And I love the whole kind of medieval kind of flair it's got going on. Like it's got that kind of folky aspect to it, which I really dig. But yeah, just really super impressed. And I will check out their discography when I get the chance.
Awesome. Yeah, I think if anyone is curious about like where metal comes from or like how metal came to sound how it does and certain really seminal bands like Metallica, like Opeth, Dream Theater, Carcass, those bands, listen to this album, even just the second half, and see if you can find that, like how you feel about it. Because I always find it fascinating. It's like archaeology to me. It's like looking at like a dinosaur and being like, oh, that's what chickens are, you know?
Yeah.
Not that metal's a chicken compared to a like velociraptor or shit, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. No, totally. And it's like, because what was that one track I used to hear that was considered to be like the first heavy metal track? Is that, you know, that Iron Butterfly song in the Gada de Vida?
We were literally listening to that the other day. It was originally 17 minutes long.
Yeah. Was it 17 minutes? I knew it was originally like super long. I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
They had to cut it down for radio. It's a really good song. I love how it's in the Simpsons.
Oh, when they're in church, right? Yeah. I remember
that was
scene.
the first time I heard it, and I was like, damn, this is sick.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's probably what made me into a metalhead, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, it's funny how music can do that, how you can hear something and... Like, my mum, who never really listens to much music for a long time, I was playing Black Sabbath one day, and she walked in, and she was like, I saw them live in the 60s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
It's funny. My mum also says that. She also says that, but she didn't watch Black Sabbath. She watched Deep Purple.
No
But
way.
she keeps getting confused and thinking it was Black Sabbath. But yeah, she saw
both
Deep
colours.
Purple. Deep Purple.
Yes! That is the crossover event I want to see.
Oh, God. Deep Purple. She saw them in their prime with like Ian Gillan and stuff. And it was, that would have been wild. Because my dad was a big Deep Purple fan. And I dig some of their stuff, actually. It's pretty good.
I really like Deep Purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
One of the best vocalists, in my opinion.
Oh, fantastic. Like, Highway Star is such a performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, so shall we move on to something completely different?
Yeah, well, fucking, you can say that again.
It is definitely the other end of the spectrum of all music. It is Acid Baths When the Kite String Pops, released in 1994 when I was 2 years old.
It was, so it was a day after my 6th birthday.
No way.
Yeah, August the 8th it was released.
Damn, that's a date.
Yeah, and I wasn't listening to this at the time. I think I would have been fucking
We'd be very
traumatized if I listened to this as a 6-year-old.
We'd be doing drugs and dead if we listened to this at that age. Yeah, this is a really interesting album. Again, I think this is like a really influential album on a lot of bands. So Acid Bath are like really extreme, and they're definitely also a product of their time in that it was like around the time of Marilyn Manson and when Nine Inch Nails were at their like most angry, and they were intentionally being really provocative.
Yeah.
And the lyrics are very provocative. The artwork is literally a painting by John Wayne Gacy, who was named the Skull Clown.
Yeah.
Where
Pogo the Clown, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he depicts himself as his alter ego, Pogo the Clown. The balloons contain his nickname and his real name. So he was a convicted sex offender and murderer. And this caused controversy, which is funny because now everyone wouldn't bat an eyelid. But back then it was a real big deal. And they did the same with the second album. They called it Pagan Terrorism Tactics. And they had artwork by Euthanasia, campaigner on it.
Yeah.
As well.
It's it's funny how it actually just what popped in my head there is that story. Did you hear about the kid that's suing?
Nirvana.
He was the baby on the Nevermind cover, and he's now suing them
for sexual exploitation because there's money on the album cover. So it looks like the baby is being solicited for sexual services.
Yeah, and it's kind of wild, isn't it?
It's pretty wild. I think probably a lawyer just went up to him and was like, "Hey, do you want some money? I can do this for you." And
I think so, because I don't want to be presumptuous here, but I remember reading an article where he was interviewed. This was maybe about 15 years ago. So I think he was also on the cover of a Beck album.
No way.
And I remember at the time thinking of him being quite proud of the fact that he was featured on album covers.
Didn't he get a tattoo of it on his arm, of the Nirvana baby
Did
album
he?
cover? I feel like he might.
Don't know,
have.
but
Maybe that's just the other side being like, oh, I don't know.
yeah, but yeah, he didn't seem to mind back then. But
I'm
But
sure
then
we
again,
could
he
do
would have still been quite young back then, because I think he's only turning 30 now. So
Damn, that's so weird. Nirvana baby's 30.
that's one of those facts to make you feel old, isn't it?
Ah!
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, yeah, but yeah, back to Acid Bath. I fucking love this album. And you're right, it's funny because like the album cover wouldn't, like, no one would fucking bat an eyelid now. And it's funny because how serial killers and stuff have almost been kind of romanticized a bit.
Yeah.
You know, especially with the whole Ted Bundy thing.
Everyone's like, oh.
And being handsome and stuff.
He's not handsome.
But
0 out of 10.
the other thing I was going to mention as well was, do you remember the whole thing that was kind of sweeping the nation a few years back with people dressing up like clowns and kind of like trolling people by being on the street and just kind of fucking with people by just staring at them?
Yeah, that's probably from this guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's probably inspired by fucking John Wayne Gacy.
Mm. Yeah, it is like, I'm not scared of clowns, but I totally see why people are.
I'm not scared of clowns, but I'm scared of pedo murderer clowns.
I am scared of those too.
Yeah.
Specifically those kind, yeah. And either or as well. It's just fucking like a really clever way of getting into those spaces. I've always thought a really fantastic way to be a murderer would be to be an ice cream man.
Yeah.
Because you could very easily just poison your supply and then slowly like cold kill. Soft kill, is that what it's called? Where you like slowly kill everyone around you and no one can trace it back to you. Because you're like an ice cream man, you're on the run, you're driving around. Who knows? It's the ice cream man, you know?
Well, you can argue, because you're selling ice cream, that you're slowly killing the kids anyway. For terrible diet.
Diabetes.
Yeah,
Putting the die in diabetes. Yeah. Sorry, that's terrible. Oh, God.
Right, so back to, should we stop covering there?
Let's
The
actually
album.
cover music. We're not terrible at that.
So the band consists of, we've got Dax Riggs on vocals, who you're quite familiar with some of his other stuff.
Adore Dax Riggs. He has 1,000 side projects. I will read some of them for you now. He was in a punk band who was called Golgotha, I believe. Also Agents of Oblivion, beautiful. Actually, Corruption, I think, might have been the punk band. Daisy Head and the Moon Crickets, Dead Boy and the Elephant Men, and he still technically is listed as being active with his solo stuff, just Dax Riggs, but he hasn't released anything officially for a while.
Cool.
But it is fucking gorgeous. All of his side projects, they're all worth checking out, especially Agents of Oblivion, Dead Boy and the Elephant Men, and just his solo stuff in general. Fantastic.
I would definitely check them out at some point. I think Golgotha, that was a precursor to Acid Bath, though, I think.
Most of them were in Golgotha, yeah.
You've got Sammy Pierre Duet on guitars and backing vocals. Also the founder of Goat Whore, another band I'm
still in Goat
fond
Whore.
of. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're still going. I think he recorded a few albums with Crowbar as well.
He also has played with I Hate God Live as well.
Doesn't surprise me. He seems quite entrenched and a bit of a figurehead in the NOLA scene.
Yeah.
You got Mike Sanchez on guitars as well. And then the late Audie Pitre. So he unfortunately died from a car crash, and his parents were in the car as well, right?
That's why
from
Acid
a
Bath
head-on
stopped.
collision.
Yeah. That's really tragic because they were so... I would have loved to hear what they would have done if they continued as a band. It would have been incredible.
I think it would have been amazing. And just to close off, you got Jimmy Kyle on drums. The drum in this album I love. But I just want to say quickly, I feel like the thing, just to add to your point you just made, I feel like this album is quite influential to a lot of the new metal acts that kind of came around the turn of there's parts of this album where I hear a lot of Darren Malakian from System of a Down, some of the vocal phrasing and stuff. Like
the phrasing is so interesting on this album.
Yeah. Corey Taylor from Slipknot, I could tell he was probably somewhat influenced by this album.
Marilyn Manson.
100%. Corey Taylor was actually almost scouted to be part of a reunion
No
for Acid
way.
Bath. They were going to reform it. I think Jimmy Kyle wanted to. It was Sans Dax Riggs, and they were thinking of tapping up
It's
Corey
got to have
Taylor.
Dax Riggs, man. You can't do it without Dax Riggs.
It didn't come to fruition, but yeah, so that he was considered as a replacement.
I feel like a good vocalist to replace Dax Riggs, if you had to, would be the Mike Patton, I think.
I mean, that man could do anything, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Mike Patton is just
It's cheating, yeah.
I mean, I only found out recently he done the noises for the weird zombie-like creatures on I Am Legend.
No way.
Yeah, he done all those like kind of weird guttural noises that all the fucking weird vampire things made.
He's got the world record for having the biggest vocal range, hasn't
No
he?
way.
I think he's got like a 6-octave vocal range, which is significantly more than Queen Latifah's impressive 1-octave range. If you read her Wikipedia for Queen Latifah, it's like Queen Latifah has an incredibly impressive 1-octave vocal range.
Is that someone like taking the piss,
I
or
don't
like
know.
was it?
It looks
It's
really.
like the normal octave range for a human being to
Yeah.
sing, and they're like, it's very...
It's really not. Like you need the 2 to 3 vocal octave range to.
I'm showing my lack of knowledge here, but I thought Queen Latifah was a rapper. Did she sing?
Maybe she simply talked. Maybe rapping at a 1-octave range is incredible. I don't know.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
But God, yeah, I feel like this is talking about seminal albums, like we just were with Wishbone Ash. Like to add to a point you've also made as well, I feel like this album has been so influential to so many artists. Like it's really like this was kind of one of the first albums to kind of do that kind of that southern sludgy sort of style as well. You know, like kind of popularized by like Corrosion of Conformity and obviously Down, the supergroup. And it's actually quite a diverse album musically as well. Like there's, and I really like the placement of a lot of the songs. For example, you've got the track Jezebel, which is almost like a death metal track in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of tremolo kind of guitar riff and some double bass work. And then directly after that, you got Screams of the Butterfly, which is one of the 2 ballads on the album.
Yeah,
And I think
such a banger.
Such a good sign. It's such a sign of a good band when they're able to create such good music through so many different kind of like spectrums and tempos. Like the ballads are as good as the heavier tracks.
Yeah.
And then after that you've got Dr. Zeus is Dead, which is another quite furious and aggressive track. So I think just the placement of the tracks and just the musical diversity. I love a lot of the guitar riffs, and some of the bass work is absolutely claustrophobically heavy. Like even the opening bass hit on the opening track, The Blue.
It's really forward and distorted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of is very reminiscent of that kind of production quality of the 90s, you know, where things are kind of a little bit muted, but like kind of sludgy, but also like not so full on that it sounds overly produced.
It's really listenable though, even now. Like a lot of stuff from back then, I can't really get into it, but I can listen to this like pretty easily. It's really, it doesn't feel, it's aged well, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
See, I think that is also why I believe that it's been quite influential to a lot of the more kind of groove metal and new metal that was prominent at the turn of the millennium as well, because an album like this is quite accessible. I think it's easy to extrapolate components from this album and kind of further dilute it and make it a bit more digestible to have more of a mainstream appeal. Because I still wouldn't say this album has mainstream appeal.
It's definitely not mainstream.
But it's definitely got a lot of cross appeal amongst anybody that listens to heavy music.
I will say as well, as a teenager, finding this shit was like a gold mine of teenage angst. Like, I don't know how old you were when you got into them, but fuck me. Like, I remember finding them and just being like, Dax Riggs is saying everything I feel. Oh, I feel like, you know, Dr. Zeus is dead, and like, oh, all this like nonsensical. Like the lyrics are so fucking horrible. They're not bad. They're just horrible. Like there's mentions of rape and murder and taking heroin, and it is definitely not. It you know, it comes with trigger. It should come with trigger warnings, I guess now. But yeah, like, as a teenager, you're reading these lyrics and you're like, oh my God, it's so romantic and dark and dirty. And like, it's so, I would literally walk around London at night, like while the sun was setting and dusk was descending. and like listen to Dax Riggs and just be like, yeah, I'm such an emotional teenager, and this is like, this is how I feel, man. This like dirty guitar and these like horrible bass riffs and these terrible like angry, angsty lyrics where he's like talking about love and loss and death. It's like really yeah, it's a teenage anthem, this album.
Yeah. It's like, did you guys have that thing when you were like first getting into heavy music where you were just instantly drawn to anything that was like offensive or had swear words?
Yeah,
I was just
totally.
like, I totally. Oh my god, they said fuck. It's like, I want to listen to this.
That was exactly like that. When System of a Down did Fuck the System, I was like, oh, they're swearing.
Yeah.
And it's music.
And it's like, it's such a weird thing to just be, because I think I don't know if it's just an anti-culture kind of standpoint to come from, or just an anti-mainstream, I suppose, but like, it's just so, I was just instantly drawn to it. And like, the thing with this album was I discovered this a little bit later, so I was already quite into like death metal and some of the more extreme and sort of heavier subgenres, but it was still, I still discovered it at a time early enough in my kind of exploration of heavy music to kind of be blown away by it. So, because I think, you know, as you were saying, it is kind of its time, and I feel like a lot of this album may be lost on someone that is familiar with most music that's been heavy music that's been prevalent the last sort of 30, 40 years.
Totally.
But I think I'm glad I caught it at a time that it still was kind of like, oh shit, this is some cool stuff. Like, I just listened to it because I knew it had cult appeal, and I think I went through a phase where I was just trying to search out like cult albums and things that were like lauded. They like, didn't have like massive like mainstream success, but the people that did have mainstream success, these are the sort of albums. So I'm just just getting distracted by Shem wigging out.
He got surprised by a leaf. It's really funny. Sorry.
But like you could tell a lot of the mainstream artists, like people like Corey Taylor, I keep name dropping Corey Taylor. I don't even listen to Slipknot, but like you could tell he would have been a fucking. I think I did read once he's a massive fan of this album and Acid Bath.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting to hear the albums that inspired these people that have a larger degree of success.
It's really interesting because I feel like if I told someone to listen to this now, I don't think they'd like it necessarily. I don't think I would like it if I just like found out about them now. I'd probably still love Dax Riggs' solo stuff, but yeah, this is like so gritty, I guess is maybe one of the words for it. There's like so yeah, like on the live bootleg, you can hear like Riggs introducing songs, and there's like the song Tranquilized, and he introduces it by saying, this song is about getting high any way you do it, just kicking the earth from beneath you. And then Cheap Vodka is like, this song is about getting wasted and killing things, blood, sex and blasphemy, which is, you know, at this age I'm like, I'm not impressed by it, but I was back then. I was very impressed by that kind of thing. And I guess it was, you know, it's like no one had really done stuff like that at that point in this kind of music. Yeah, because
that's the thing. Even though I think there is an element of kind of a shock factor to it, I think it does actually come across as really kind of genuine and earnest a lot of the time.
It's more earnest than Manson, I would say.
Oh, for sure. Like, I've never liked Manson.
It's always been like very obviously considered and intentional, but in a way that I feel is disingenuous with Manson. Yeah. But I feel like this is legit. Like, there's the song Taubabo Kumi, which apparently is Swahili for land of the white cannibals. Yeah. So I feel like, again, he's like going into the whole American dream, being dead, and like I feel like that's really how he feels. He's not just doing it for commercial appeal. Yeah.
Apparently that track has a music video. I keep meaning to watch it, but I've not seen it.
It's the only music video they have, and apparently there's an alligator in it which actually ended up biting someone's face in real life.
Oh shit.
Yeah. According to the guitarist Sammy Duet, so I don't know if that's true, but that's the thing.
I think a surname would be pronounced Duet. I've always wondered that. You would think it was Duet, right? Because I suppose around that region they've got kind of that French kind of Bayou sort of connection there, right? Duet.
Oh no, brain blankness. Fuck's sake. Southern. Cajun, yeah. Yeah, because a lot of it is like the southern accent is actually French slowed down. It's a slowed down French accent.
Ah, is it?
Yeah.
Ah, that's interesting.
It's the same with, I think New York is that with Italian. What was a B right next to my head?
Yeah. You can hear the Italian. That's quite evident in the New York accent, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of accents are
Quite
actually
often.
just like different speeds of the older languages that were spoken in the region before, or like immigrants and things.
Yeah, because it's funny actually. It reminds me of I watched that horror film The Witch, but spelt VVITCH.
Whoa.
So the Vivitch, totally edgy, man.
Holy shit.
But no, it was you would hate it because it's a horror film. But
I
it's
would, yeah.
but it's got Ralph Ineson in it, who is like a British actor who's been he was in The Office and he was in Harry Potter as well. I dread to mention that name, but he was in it, and they've got really strong northern accents, but they're playing like early settlers, like British settlers in the States, and I can't remember which state they're in, but
It's like New England, isn't it?
yeah, it was New England. Yeah, of course, New England. And it turns out historically, yeah, they would have had those like strong northern accents at the time.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to think that some American accents have morphed from like those dialects we're more familiar with.
Have you read like Chaucer and like Old and Middle English?
I'd studied Chaucer, yeah.
Yeah, it's like proper Birmingham style accents and shit. It's so fantastic. I actually think Old English is fucking beautiful. It
Yeah.
sounds like Elvish, but you can totally hear accents, like regional accents in the voicings and spellings
Yeah,
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we done the Canterbury Tales, so
Oh, they're so saucy. I love them.
yeah.
They're
I went to watch a
ridiculous.
live performance as well, and some dude flashed his ass during one of the first. I can't remember which one it was, but it was quite entertaining.
I would see Shakespeare at the Globe when I was at uni, and there were like kids in the crowd. I can't remember. I think it was King Henry Richard, one of the fucking king ones, the one with Faustus in it. And yeah, there's like at the beginning they did like what they would usually do historically, and there was like a guy with a giant penis and a woman, and he's got this like big penis prosthetic, and they're like kind of dancing around, and the ladies are like, ooh, and then it's just like really fucking sexual, suggestive, like not even suggestive.
Yeah,
It was ridiculous.
that sounds wild.
It's very Shakespearean. I do love that. There's so many dick jokes in Shakespeare.
I went to watch so it just reminded me of a time I went to watch a production of Hamlet, and it had someone from EastEnders who played Angie Watts, Dirty Den's wife. I'm gonna show my age here, but I can't remember her name. But anyway, it was obviously the first line is most pernicious woman, and the actor's voice cracked on the first line. So me and my friend Chris spent the entire fucking 2-hour play trying not to fucking laugh. It was like most pernicious woman, and I was just fucking we were in tears. So Chris, wherever the fuck you are, like I still remember that night. That was, and that the English teacher would be looking over to us, and our shoulders are just like going and it's that whole nervous thing again where you know you're not meant to fucking laugh, but
That's fantastic.
his voice broke so bad, like it's hilarious.
That
So
is-
good.
Honestly, I had this moment at Bloodstock where I have this rule where I never talk to the crowd. And I was at Bloodstock, I was like, okay, I have to say thank you.
Yeah.
Because everyone was being so fucking cool. So I was like, okay, I'm going to say thank you. And I remember looking at the microphone, and I had a moment where I was like, I don't know if I can speak. I don't know if I can say words.
Yeah.
And I was genuinely terrified of saying something, and it just, that happening, of just being like, thank you. Like just not having sound come out of my mouth.
I would have rated you so hard if, like, at the beginning of the set, you went, hello, and smoke him. Sorry.
I was so tempted. Honestly, it's so tempting to just say that,
Yeah.
even though no one else will know what I'm talking about. Just be like, hello and smoke 'em.
Oh,
Oh, God.
yeah. Should we get back to Acid Bath?
Acid bath.
There's one thing I want to mention on a point you were making about we were talking about the lyrics and stuff being earnest and things, and it's and the track "Dope Fiend," which I think the subject matter is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
There's a line where he's saying, "Oh, why do I feel so high and why do I feel so dead?" But he's actually kind of like talking it or whispering it in a way that he sounds like he's legitimately high
Yeah.
and legitimately vocalizing his thoughts at that time. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think that just adds to the whole like honesty of his performance on the album. And it's a very fucking varied and good performance. Like his clean vocals are so kind of like mournful and
Yeah.
sorrowful and like and really like quite musical as well. And the harsh vocals are great because they're not like I think we talked about this before. I think we were talking about this with Grave Lines, actually. Well, like, you know, they're not too comical, because a lot of times in harsh vocals, especially in black and death metal, they could be so over the top that they lose the aggression and the authenticity. But obviously he's got like a real kind of like genuine kind of like scream, and like it's still, I'm sure it's still using false chords, and it's got some distortion, but like it just sounds really fucking clean. And the back-end vocals are great as well. I don't know which member of the band does the back-end screams, but they're really fucking like brutal and piercing as well. But it's just a great like gamut of styles across the whole album.
It's so expressive. I totally agree. I did my thing where I take a paragraph of lyrics
nice.
from my. There is a lot of like really interesting imagery and like metaphorical contrasts and stuff in the album that it's like very typical of how Dax Riggs writes his other lyrics in other projects. So I took something from the first song because it's like the least depressing one, I guess. But it kind of also pretty accurately conveys like how he'll go from one extreme to another like really quickly. So I'll read the verse. He says, "I have fallen deep in love with the sky, fragments of a sunbeam glaring on a kitchen knife. Leaves will fall as everything must follow. Kill your idol, come on, jump into the void, eat my cold shit." Dax Riggs.
Do you know, it's kind of reminds me sometimes of J.R. Hayes from Pig Destroyer.
Yeah.
He's got a similar thing where he's like, well, he'll just hit you with. Sorry, we've got seagulls flying over at the moment.
Yes. It's a Voices album cover.
It's
Beautiful and
give it a second. Yeah. So like there's like that combination of like kind of like poetry and like, you know, like a vagueness to the lyrics, but it just hit you with a blunt line.
Yeah.
Like I think you can hear, and there's the lyrics to that track, "Go in the Slayer Jacket," which is so fucking brutal, man, and so unsettling. Like it's, if you read the lyrics in the story that he's like portraying, and then just listen to the music, it just goes so well hand in hand. But yeah, I get a similar vibe from sort of Dax Riggs here, so I wouldn't be surprised if J.R. Hayes was a little bit influenced by that. One of my favorite tracks on the album actually is the second instrumental, "The Bones of Baby Dolls."
Yeah.
Which is another great, it's got really beautiful kind of like acoustic passage and also really soulful vocals again. And this is the track where I can really hear like the kind of vocal phrasing that I would presume might have influenced System of a Down.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And it's
like staccato and like really weird emphases on words and lines and things. Yeah.
And there's a bit where he comes in with a clean sung passage, and it's really distorted, and it was quite cool to hear like what should have been quite cleanly produced, but was actually done in a really kind of filthy and fuzzy way. And there's just loads of cool like production, sort of little tricks and moments like that on the entire album, especially in the music as well, that it's just kind of throws you for a loop. There's so many moments that you wouldn't expect to have happened, whether it be like a faster kind of like blast beat section, a tremolo section, or just some straight up like kind of like bouncy, like almost new metal style riffs. Like there's so much variety on this album, but all under the same kind of like sludgy veneer.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I really, really love how I just forgot what I was going to say. Sorry. Oh my God. I have a total mind blank.
Well, on the on the topic of disturbing lyrics, I think the last track has got some pretty fucked up lyrics as well. Cassie eats cockroaches.
Oh, those were the worst.
They're the worst, right?
I was so disturbed by the lyrics of that song. It was really, he's talking about this girl Cassie and sleeping with her, and it's horrifying.
It's like really explicit, and like it's like whoa.
He's talking about cutting her with his you know what. We say a lot of words on this podcast, but I'm not saying that one. Yeah, it's like really it's really horrible to read, and like he's kind of like playful with it, I guess, and it's not like I want to hurt women, but it's also like he's aware on some level that he is hurting women, and that he is like what he's doing isn't right, and how he's viewing this woman isn't right, but he's still objectifying her.
Yeah.
And it's really fucking horrible to like, yeah, it's like comparing his body to a weapon.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There is because there is that juxtaposition between the bluntness of the lyrics and almost the vagueness to them sometimes. Because there's a lot of people that think "Screams of the Butterfly" is an anti-abortion song.
Oh, Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's obviously, like most lyrics, it's open for interpretation. I think a lot of artists will deliberately not explicitly say what song's about so people can get something else from it. But yeah, it's interesting to see people's different interpretations of that particular track. And there's some people that think it's to do with a young girl that was abused when she was younger and impregnated at a young age. But it's I think that's a sign of him. He is quite a talented lyricist, obviously, despite the vulgarity and extremity of some of the lyrics. But like, it definitely evokes something, even if it's not always a positive thing, it evokes something like a visceral response, I think, from the listener.
I think that's a really good point. I think that's something that a lot of people miss when it comes to what they're doing with their own art, because Riggs isn't like doing it for the hell of doing it. He's doing it with a point, but he's also veiling it. He's also like trying to get you to find your own way through his art and take what you want to take away from it, whilst also hoping that you're going to take maybe a particular message, or it's not the end of the world if you don't. But it's also like a lot of people see this and be like, I'm going to talk about rape and murder and, doing this to women and, abortion, haha, murder. But I feel like Riggs is doing this from like a very educated isn't the right word, because that comes across like, oh, you've got to be educated to say such things. But he's doing it from he's thought about it. He's not just doing it to like elicit a response and become popular and get like some kind of extra money or crowd or whatever. He's like legitimately concerned about particular things, and this is how he's expressing them. And it's like very American, like Bukowski and Hunter S. Thompson. This is like very common with those kind of authors, and he's taking it to music now. I think that's one of the first steps into music that you hear that being done. Yeah,
totally. And it's like, using the Manson comparison again. Like, I feel like Manson was very Machiavellian in his tactics, in his lyrical subject matter, where I feel like this is coming from a place that is far more sort of sincere or just in the interest of trying to create good art.
Yeah.
And I think obviously it shows, because it's such a seminal album, such a highly respected album. And I think obviously it wouldn't have worked either, because I feel like we've talked a lot about Dax Riggs and his lyrical content and his vocal delivery, but it totally would not work at all if the music wasn't so fucking good.
Right.
And there's just so much good riffs on this fucking album. Like, it's super, you said it before, like it's really accessible and groovy at times, while still being really heavy, and then really beautiful and melodic at other points, which is just a great sign of a band that can incorporate that many different kind of emotional flavors into their music.
Definitely, and it's also really uncomfortable. It's all those things are making you extremely uncomfortable, which I think the kind of discomfort it provokes is the kind where you're like thinking to yourself, why am I enjoying this music? And like, which bits of it am I enjoying? And you have like uncomfortable confrontations with yourself when you listen to music like this, and I think that's really important. And I think that it's a really delicate line that this music treads between being inappropriate and kind of serving a almost like psychological purpose, where you listen to it and you're like, fuck me, like this poor Cassie, man. Like, you're not like, well, hey, he's cutting Cassie like a knife with his dick. It's not like that.
No.
It's more like, fuck, like, why is it that misogyny is like so openly embraced and women are treated this way so often, and Shem is fighting with bushes. And it's a really interesting album. I think it's an interesting band. I do tend to come back to Acid Bath every so often. I'm just like, whoa, I don't remember feeling this way about it when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I just openly embraced it and I didn't have those thoughts. But it's cool to grow with this kind of music and go back to what you were enjoying. But I do still feel that like teenage, like I can see me 20 years ago, or however many years ago I was a teenager. I don't fucking remember.
Yeah.
And like I can like see myself and look back at myself and kind of give myself like a nod. I don't know if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I get that when I listen to a lot of music I was into when I was younger. Like, even though, like, I'll use Korn as an example. Like, I think some of their lyrics are super fucking corny, man. No pun intended. And like, but I listen back to it, and there's still that part of me and I recognize that it's no longer really who I am. But I'm just like, it's like I totally dig this shit. Like there's that track, the really like quite harrowing one actually, Daddy from the first album, which is like it talks about him being abused by his babysitter.
Fucking hell.
And the lyrics are very like forward and brutal, and it's actually got him crying on the track and stuff. And it's like there's like loads of reaction videos of it on YouTube of people listening to it for the first time and just being completely traumatized by it. But so there's sort of part of me that will listen to like a track like that and be like, yeah, I remember being a teenager and listening to this for the first time and thinking, whoa, this is like some real shit.
Yeah.
He's so brave.
Yeah, that's some fucking brave shit. I didn't know that was even the case. I didn't know that about that track.
And it was like that on their earlier albums when they were, well, I mean, to put it bluntly, a bit more fucked up on meth. I felt like they were a bit more kind of cerebral and putting shit out there. And then, once they kind of became, super successful musicians, they started doing stuff like that. Y'all want a single track. Y'all want a single, say fuck that. You ever listen to that? I think I haven't listened. The lyrics are literally, y'all want a single, say fuck that. Fuck that, fuck that.
Wow.
It's really bad.
Wow. Imagine going into the studio and being like, okay, here we go. That's wild. Cool.
But yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying about like the whole kind of, there's always that part of me that is imbued by nostalgia.
Yeah, it is really nostalgic and it's super romantic and melancholic. It's gorgeous fucking music. Go and check it out. Yeah. It's a really interesting album to have next to Wishbone Ash because I think Wishbone Ash influenced a shit ton of like really successful metal bands, and I think Acid Bath are like again a huge influencer and a lot of like sludge and doom and metal.
Yeah, a lot kind of you're absolutely right. Like Wishbone Ash influenced like all the preppy, like really clean metal bands, but this influenced all the fucking degenerates and just filthy, sludgy, messy. Yeah, but I do love it though.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's a really important album.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What strange albums to review side by side, but like it works in a way.
It does work, and like also got a shout out to my favorite Acid Bath song. I think Scream of the Butterfly was the first one I listened to. I love the weird way it says butterfly. Yeah. Scream of the Butterfly. But then I love Dead Girl. That it's not on this album. It's on Pagan Terrorism Tactics. It's a fucking anthem. That song is beautiful. When death sleeps, he dreams of you. That's such a cool lyric.
And as I was saying before, I still have not listened to their second album, so I have to check that out, which is crazy, but I need to jam it. But I've listened to it once before, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your take on it now. But shall we move on to a completely different thing entirely? Wormwitch, the album Wolf Hex.
So what did you think of Wormwitch? Because I know you're slowly losing faith in black metal.
Again.
I mean, this is a
second time.
Kind of a hybrid black metal sort of thing here. This is a...
Yeah, I was listening to this and I was like, oh, fuck's sake. But then I was like, oh, I thought this is blackened. I think if I can stomach this with the idea, I feel like it's blackened.
Yeah, so the thing about Wormwitch is, I mean, they're listed on the Holy Grail of Old Metal Knowledge, Encyclopedia Metallum, as a crust black metal sort of band.
Okay.
The first album is kind of like crusty black metal, black and roll. And then their second album, which was dropped in 2019, which is a really good album. Mm-hmm. It's it's To Heaven Dwell Within, I think it's
the
called.
one with the artwork on the cover, right?
Yes.
It's really beautiful artwork. I think it's Ophelia.
Yeah. But that album actually incorporated a bit more of kind of like a crossover fusion of styles. There's a bit more kind of like Dissection at the Gates-esque, so a bit melded in with the black metal riffs.
I like the death metal, blackened death metal aspects. That's like kind of the sweet spot for me when it comes to this kind of music. Yeah.
And there's very, I think there's very few bands that could kind of blend those styles well. Like, and this is another band that have got elements from different genres. Like there's some tracks on this album. Like, let me pull up me notes that have just some straight up trad riffs. Like, like Hammer of the Underworld, a great track. So that's got like a traditional kind of a mid-pace black and roll, Immortal style groove to begin with.
Yeah.
But then it just picks up and does something that wouldn't be out of place on like a Midnight album. Like it's a bit more kind of like speed metal and trad metal, and there's loads of things going on, but it's all under that blackened kind of blanket.
Yeah, I did like it. I came in, it took me a long time to get back into black metal, and then I was like reminded why I don't get into black metal. But this is actually fantastic. I really liked it. It was really fucking catchy. There were some really good riffs. There were a few moments where I was like, why? I mean, there's like a bit at the beginning of, I think it's the Wolves of Ossuary, where it just sounds like someone's fucking dog is barking.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I literally thought it was like the neighbour's dog.
Yeah.
Being all yappy again. It does not sound like, maybe it's a wolf hunt or something, but it took me by surprise. I wasn't into that, but it's a fantastic track.
Yeah.
The rest of the album is great. I really fucking love, the guitar tone is really good.
Yeah.
The vocals are like really kind of anthemic, really easy to listen to. It's like super easy to listen to. I will definitely go and listen to this again.
Yeah.
I would definitely listen to this on an angry stroll commute through London.
Yeah.
When you got like a half-hour walk to get somewhere and you want to get there and you're like, fuck all the people in my way, I'm going to listen to some angry music and like stomp the streets, because that sounds so lame, but it's
this is definitely the soundtrack for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, just like a nice mid-paced angry stroll.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to do that. I really liked Leering Crystal Effigies. I fucking love the song name. It reminds me of the book I'm reading at the moment, which is the Stormlight Archive. By Brandon Sanderson. So yeah, it just reminds me of like some of, I don't want to kind of drop a spoiler, but there's something in those books that I really fucking think is cool that reminds me of that song name. And then I don't know what's going on with Canadian Denim Mountain Attack. What is that about?
I'm guessing it just is what it is. I suppose that's just a pretty.
I like that it's tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just actually just a representation of what their music is. I mean, they're Canadian.
I guess it is.
They probably wear denim, and then they'll
attack you in the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I kind of like that they're not taking themselves seriously. I really enjoyed that. And the Metallica cover, I hate Metallica. Love the Metallica cover. Sounds really good. Better than Metallica.
Yeah, it's oh geez, that is a spicy take for a lot of people out there. Love Metallica.
Fight me. Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting song to cover because obviously it's their first song. It's the first song on their first album, so it hit the lights from Kill 'Em All. But yeah, it was a good cover actually. I'm not big into covers, really.
Me neither. Most of the time, I do like Def's cover of Painkiller.
Oh, that was amazing. That's like an exception to the rule. That Johnny Cash covering.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, that's not even a cover. That's just like a reimagining.
They should just give it to him. They should just give him that song. Yeah.
And there's a few more that I'm missing that I can't think of at the time. But
so Spirit by Taurus, the song that Led Zepp. I think they should just have that. I think Led Zepp should just have that song.
See, I've not listened to the Taurus song, but I've seen a video comparing the two.
They're identical.
And it is very fucking similar. It's so similar.
They blatantly lifted it, but I think they improved it significantly.
And you know that Verve song, Bittersweet Symphony, the one where he's walking down the street barging into people?
Maybe?
I think Rolling Stones claimed that the orchestral aspect to that song is sampled from one of their earlier tracks.
That's interesting.
So they own the rights to the track. And I can't remember the guy from the Verve's name, but
Richard Ashcroft?
That's it. Yeah, he only got the rights back recently, so he owns the rights.
Damn, poor guy. He's not gonna get shit from it now, I don't think.
And it's funny because that's like their biggest songs. It's like, I mean, they had that, and what was the other song they had that was semi-big? Was it "The Drugs Don't Work"? Yeah. Quite a big one. But yeah, I mean, Bittersweet Symphony was played everywhere and on commercials and shit. So yeah, so sucks to be him. But no, and in terms of Wormwitch and this album, I really, really like this album. Sometimes I really like to listen to albums that are just accessible and not too long. I think this album wouldn't work as well if it was a good 20 minutes longer, because taking out the Metallica cover, it's just under 30 minutes. And there's an instrumental as well, so there's probably about 27 minutes of music here.
I think that's just about right, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just works so well, and I'm a big fan of Immortal, and I don't think they get enough credit just due to sort of Abath being a bit of a meme and a bit of a
silly man,
a joke, a silly figure. But like their music is legitimately sick, in my opinion, and like they've done a lot to kind of present a not a commercial, but like a digestible form of black metal that people who are not so entrenched in the scene can enjoy.
Like the wholemeal bread of black metal.
Yeah. It's a good way of putting it.
I don't know.
They also laughed at fucking...
Oh, they did laugh at Faust.
Yeah, fuck 'em all.
Yeah, no, I didn't like
Did
that. In Until the Light Takes
If you
Us.
watch
Yeah.
Until the Light Takes Us, they're laughing about him killing
I forgot about that.
Jesus. Okay,
Yeah, there's an interview where...
me off, man.
where like they're talking to Abat and the other guy, don't fucking
Demonaz.
yeah, about Faust killing a gay person. I can't remember if it was the guy with a bat, but someone was like, "Oh yeah, I heard he killed a fucking faggot," and they just start laughing. It's fucking horrible.
Oh, that sounds like I need to watch Until the Light Takes Us.
Yeah, that's
I know you
why
said
we're
it's
like
pretty
we're
cringe.
not reviewing it because
Yeah.
it would just be me being like, "Well, I hate this band now." Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. But I'll tell you another band Wormwitch remind me of, who I do love, and I do know are cool guys, are Enslaved.
Oh yeah, they're cool.
It does sound like early Enslaved. There's some
Yeah,
proper like
yeah.
Frost Enslaved moments. Did you listen to the album, Shem, there? What do you think of it? Did you like it?
When it came on, I said, I hate fucking black metal. And then I said, why can't we review more death metal? I hate black metal. And then we listened to the album, and then I said, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And then it grew on me.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Well, I personally love it, and I love all the I love like this kind of style where it's a bit more crusty, and like I said, it's a bit less serious.
Yeah. It's tongue in cheek. They're hopefully not racist as a result.
No, I mean, but where are they from? They're Canadian,
Canadian, I'm
they'll
assuming.
be yeah,
It'd be
they're
funny
Canadian.
if they weren't.
Yeah, because I remember at the moment, I mean, Canada's kind of killing it, well, with Spectral
Oh,
Wound
yeah.
and
And they got
And,
Luke LeMay.
like yeah, Luke LeMay, legend.
Mm.
It's but this band they are actually signed to Prosthetic Records.
I like Prosthetic. They're a pretty safe label. Yeah.
So I feel like this is a band that has got some industry backing, which is well deserved because I
Yeah.
feel like they're going to be one of those bands that has that kind of crossover appeal, but like a Behemoth kind of thing. Like they don't sound like Behemoth or Behemoth, however you want to pronounce it, but it's that same thing where they're the sort of band who I feel like people who are not necessarily fans of black metal would still enjoy a lot because they've got enough components in the music that would appeal to your casual kind of metal fan.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's really easy to listen to. It's like very black and rolly, I guess.
Yeah.
I love how when you describe like crusty black metal roll, I'm like, that sounds delicious. Like, the first time you said it, I was like, is that food or is that a genre?
Yeah, crusty black and roll. Yeah, I suppose it does sound like something from some fucking bakers in the arse end of nowhere in north of England.
Like a fancy charcoal burger, you know, those weird charcoaly black
Ah,
burgers.
yeah. It's funny that reminds me of that meme where it had like 4 pictures and it was a picture of an alleyway, a roll,
Yeah, I know the one.
and it was like
It was like
a
biscuits
90.
and gravy. What was that? It was like chips and gravy.
yeah, it was like 4 things where like it was the 4 items that regionally there
It's
is
so divisive.
yeah.
Yeah. I did not know that alleyway and roll. I didn't realize it was such a thing because it was at the end of a loaf of bread as well, wasn't it?
Well, this is the thing. This is where I lost a lot of people because I've always called the end of a loaf of bread a healy because that's a Dundee term for it.
But it's supposed
just
to
like
be
the heel.
If you read a book, I think the term is a heel of bread. That's the end. Yeah, it's like the crusty end, the bum of the. I always call it the bum. I call anything that's the,
The
end of
ass.
food. I call it the bum.
The ass of the bread.
The ass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's call it the crust.
Well, no,
Yeah, I think most people call it crust, right? Yeah, we called it healy.
it's not as accurate, the crust, because all bits of the bread has crust. So if you're like, please sir, give me the crust, they'd be like, well, what, you want me to just shave off the entire loaf? Like, no, you want the heel.
The crust is the best fucking bit, by the way. So people
Oh.
that
No, I like
come
soft.
on.
I
What?
like soft bread.
That shit. I cut the crust off, throw them away.
Well, you get the crusts, we get the soft bit.
Need 'em. Garbage.
I don't know. I don't. But I think that's the first time I've ever disagreed strongly with Shem on anything. I'm actually genuinely disappointed.
Well, it does mean if you want to make a sandwich, you're happy and he's happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose so. We're gonna have to spend 2 hours just listening to Enslaved in silence, just to get over this rift.
Rebuild up.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Looking angry while I listen to like.
So now you're eating soft bread and I'm just eating loads of crust.
You got like an elbow on your knee, you're just like slowly eating bread. Like, that's an amazing image.
Oh. But no, yeah, back to
Shaking with anger.
I almost said back to Spectral Wounds. We're not even reviewing Spectral. The bread debate has thrown me off. Back to Wormwitch. No, I really like this album. Their whole discography is great, by the way.
Okay.
The album before was really, really good. Like I said, it's got more of a dissection at the gates, kind of Gothenburg infused element to the riffs. But this album is kind of bringing it back to that kind of crusty, really groovy, kind of DB sort of. There's a lot of good drumming on this album. like I was saying with the Wishbone Ash album, it's really great to hear a drummer that doesn't overplay.
Yeah.
And they know when to fucking use the double bass pedals, and then when to bring it back to like a D beat style, kind of hardcore style beat, and then cymbal work, ride cymbals, crashes, all that sort of jazz. So it's and that's also why it kind of reminds me a bit of Enslaved, like early Enslaved, because I feel like the drums in Enslaved have always been amazing, and I've always loved everything about that band. But it's got enough of a groove to it, as well as that kind of that icy soundscape that is so prominent and revered in black metal, that it just sounds so fucking sick. That's the best way I could put it.
I'm so impressed when musicians are so good at their instrument that they don't feel the need to overplay. And like when you're playing with someone as well, you can really tell they're a really amazing musician when you can see how much they're in control of their instrument.
Yeah.
And they're not letting it get away with them. They're able to, like, I remember seeing Jason Roeder play with Sleep, and his fucking use of dynamics live was incredible, because usually a drummer live will get really excited and they'll just go fucking mental, and it's impressive. But Roeder was like, he was allowing everyone else in the band to do their thing, and everyone else in the band is good enough that they're making space for each other and communicating. But it's just so, it's like honestly driving alongside a Rolls Royce when you play with a drummer like that.
Yeah.
Where like you can see them like making sure that you've got your space and everyone else has got their space, and they're also like just controlling the drums in such an interesting way. It's so wonderful to watch a good drummer.
Yeah. 100%, because like you can always tell, because it's less about at times about the technical ability and more about the ability to keep time.
Yeah.
And like there's so many times I've seen a live band.
Sorry, it sounded like you said tentacle.
It did.
Did I say tentacle?
I had the same. I was also like, did he really
Well, to
say
be fair,
that?
some fucking
Where's he
drumers
going?
have an almost like tentacle ability to play drums.
It is
so
true,
it's
yeah.
somewhat apt. If I did fuck up that word, I thought I said technical. Normally I catch my fuck ups, but
Probably did, but
yeah,
It
it's not
sounded like tentacle, yeah.
Okay, we'll go for tentacle then. But like it's, I've seen so many live bands where you could tell the drummer is fucking struggling.
Yeah.
Like they are sweating and like they are like half a beat out sometimes. But like it's, but yeah, there's just some. I've been trying to. One of the most impressive drummers for me is the drummer from the death metal band Origin. I don't know if you've ever listened to Origin, but so good. I'm not like I've said before in the past. I'm not super into tech death. But tentacle death metal. But
I've been to that.
But I mean, this dude is a fucking octopus on the drums, like, and he is super on time. Like he is in the pocket, and he doesn't break a sweat, and is playing the most ridiculous shit. So it's yeah. I love drummers.
Drummers are sick. Drummers are very good. Adore your drummers. Hold them close. Yeah, and obviously David Gray, Cocker, fucking insane.
Good
drummer.
Blast Vader
himself. Yeah, he is just. Oh, watching. I love that they do the drum cam thing where you can just like go and see him, like his hands blurring because they're moving so fast. Just insane.
There's that clip that went viral recently as well of Dave Grohl of Foo Fighters got that girl that went viral on the Nandi.
I haven't seen it.
She does all the drum covers, and she had like a drum off with him, so she came on stage to play Everlong. So that was quite a sweet moment.
That's so wholesome. Isn't that nice?
He's a good guy. I mean, well, until he gets bankrupted by the Nevermind.
The
Nevermind baby. Yeah.
Damn.
Suing him for everything he's got.
God, can you imagine you just like shoot an album cover and then 30 years later you get sued by your own album cover?
Yeah, wild. But it's do you know one thing I want to say about Wormwitch in this album is that at times it reminds me of we were talking a bit about Goat Whore reviewing the Acid Bath album, but like it reminds me of them in the sense that they're also a band who I think are so good at blending those styles in a way that it's palatable, because it'd be so easy for it to become a mess. I think that's also why I like Enslaved so much, because I wouldn't have thought black metal and prog would have worked at all. But they do it in a way which is just totally like fucking majestic. And same with like Goat Whore, they've got the whole weird like southern kind of Nola kind of sort of vibe, as well as like the black metal and death metal parts. And this band's kind of doing the same with the whole crust punk.
You've been crust punked.
Yeah. Whole crust Daft Punk aspect of it. But yeah, it's just really impressed. It's a really good and just a really fun and easy to listen to 30-minute banger of an album.
I think after the intensity of Acid Bath and Wishbone Ash, this is a really good antidote.
Yeah.
There's no like Like all those things are good about all the bands, but I just like that it's, you don't have to go in with like loads of heavy thinking, and it's just really relaxing. It's really fucking fun. I would love to work out to this album. It's definitely a good bit of aggression that you need, here and there.
Yeah, darn tootin'.
Darn tootin', yes. So I think, I will say, I love the aesthetics. I love the cover. I love the logo, and I like the cover of the second album as well.
Yeah, it's
really,
great.
really nice.
Yeah.
It's like heraldic.
That's a cool cover. Oh, one point I was going to mention as well that's just come to mind that I forgot. Talking about Goat Hawks, I was thinking about the guitarist Sammy. He uploaded something 7 months ago of him performing some acid bath tracks
No way.
live, and he must have streamed it. I don't know if it was streamed on Twitch, but it's on YouTube now. I saw the video. I've been meaning to watch it, but all the comments are just like, yeah, it's amazing because it's like the first time for a lot of people who've ever seen the music performed in that setting. So that's probably worth a watch.
Yeah, I would love to see that music like in a room where I'm in the room one day live. Yeah. That's the word. That would be really cool. I highly doubt it would happen. Like, it's always been a dream of mine to see Dax Riggs play, but he doesn't. He plays like an occasional pub in like America sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you lived in America, you'd find it very fucking hard to attend that.
Yeah.
I mean, cause it's probably going to be
it's 12 hours away. Yeah.
It's always funny when I see if I speak to Americans or hear them talking about going to gigs live and say, yeah, I've got this local venue. It's just a 6-hour drive away. I'm thinking, to us, that's traveling to the other side of the country.
You could just go to the sea. Yeah. Any sea front in England is 6 hours away. It's crazy. Yeah.
So, and it just shows that, especially us living in and near London, it's just so spoiled for choice when gigs return. Like, it's just.
We'll go to gigs in Brighton now because it's like a 2-hour drive, but it's I really prefer going to gigs in Brighton. It is really nice.
Brighton's great. I fucking love Brighton.
The atmosphere is wonderful as well. The people in Brighton are so fucking lovely too. It's just, honestly, we should just all go to it. Shout out to Brighton.
Shout out Brighton.
Yeah, Brighton massive. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, Wormwitch are fucking great. Like, love that. I'm looking forward to see what they do next. It's nice to find some metal that is blackened that I like. That doesn't have some horrible thing attached to it, so that's fucking nice. Yeah.
I think it will translate really well live as well. I'm quite intrigued to see if this band tour, which is signed to Prosthetics, I'm sure they'll be on some package.
I wonder if they play a little tour with like Pupil Slicer or something. That'd be nice.
Oh yeah, they're on Prosthetic, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's but yeah, no doubt once things get up and rolling again, they'll be part of some tour. I can see them probably touring with someone like Black Dahlia Murder or something like that being added onto it.
Ooh, that'd be nice. Yeah. That'd be lovely. Yeah, I think, this is really, really good sign. Things are pretty healthy at the moment in terms of music. We're doing
there's been some great new releases this year. I think I was saying earlier, I was jamming the new Turnstile album.
Nice.
Which is cool. I'll let you guys hear some of that afterwards because it's cool shit.
There's a really great single that 1914 just released, which has Nick from Paradise Lost on it. It's really fucking good. Go check it out. It's on YouTube. There's a really nice lyric video of it.
Yeah, it's a great track. Let me get the song title up.
It's so good. It's honestly gorgeous. Yeah, the guitar tone on it is really nice.
Yeah, and A Cross Now Marks His Place, featuring the hilarious Nick Holmes of Paradise Lost. And so he's literally hilarious. His stage banter on stage is normally.
Is it actually?
No, yeah, it's legit. He's like Macaracafat. It's getting excited. Sorry, but it's like I've been watching what's that movie called? Fucking the Mars with the Martians. Mars Attack. Sounded like one of those Mars Attack Martians. But no, it's he's like Michael Ackerfeld in the sense that his stage banter is like quite dry and it's just really amusing to watch. But yeah, no, so he does a great guest on this track, and it's a really good track actually. So I'm super, super hyped to listen to the new 1914 record.
Yes, 100%.
When that dropped. And they are touring at some point eventually in the UK, I believe. It got postponed, but I think there is still plans for them to come. I think it's either March or April next year. I'll fact check that, but yeah.
When they do, it'd be great to have them on here if we can.
Totally, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be very cool. Yeah, I think that concludes it, unless there's any other tidbits and... No,
I think I'm done. My throat is super dry, so I'm going to go in acquire some H2O.
Hydrate. Hydration's important. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thank you for listening. Feel free to like and subscribe. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Tell us what you want to hear from us next. We're on YouTube, Spotify, all those cool apps. Twitter. We're on Twitter as well. Sorry, I forgot that most important sphere of social media. Yeah, it's fucking nice to be able to do this. It's our 30th episode. Who would have thought we'd do a whole 30 episodes?
It was like that meme, the Hot Ones one. The who would have thought it? Not us.
Not us. Anyway, we're out. Thank you so much.
Till next time. Peace.